Captain Marcus Hale walked through the bustling corridors of the Lithara spaceport, his boots echoing softly against the polished metal floors. The human contingent had just arrived at the grand summit of the Galactic Alliance, a gathering that brought together dozens of alien species, each more advanced and sophisticated than the next. For humans, this was both a triumph and a test. They had proven themselves in exploration and military skirmishes. But in the polished halls of diplomacy, they were still newcomers, still under observation. Marcus adjusted the strap of his utility pack and glanced at the massive panoramic windows that stretched along the corridor. Outside, the city floated on platforms, suspended above shimmering oceans. The architecture was unlike anything humans had seen. Spires twisted gracefully toward the sky, and bridges of glowing light connected distant towers. Even for a seasoned soldier like Marcus, the sight was breathtaking. But he had little time to admire it. He had a duty to perform, and he intended to do it well. The summit had a specific purpose. The rulers of numerous alien civilizations were presenting their princesses as part of a traditional diplomatic process. These unions, while ceremonial, often determined political alliances, trade agreements, and even peace treaties. Each princess represented the pride and power of her species, and most had been groomed for decades to play their roles perfectly. Marcus had been assigned as a liaison and security officer, ensuring the safety of both humans and alien dignitaries during the event. Yet, for all the grandeur, the humans had noticed something strange. One princess did not seem to fit the mold. Princess Alara of the Valen was quiet, thoughtful, and unassuming. Her hair shimmered with a subtle silver glow, her eyes deep pools of violet. But her posture and demeanor suggested she preferred books and ideas over the pomp of court life. She was, by all accounts, the least popular choice among the delegates. While her sister dazzled the crowds with charm and wit, Alara quietly studied the proceedings from the background. No one expected her to play a significant role in the summit. Marcus first encountered her during a routine security inspection in one of the floating gardens of Lithara. The garden stretched for kilometers, a mix of alien flora that seemed to glow with bioluminescent light. Streams of water floated in mid-air, bending in impossible patterns before landing in crystal pools. Marcus had been checking the perimeter when he noticed a lone figure walking among the flowers. Alara paused beside a delicate plant, her fingers brushing over its luminescent petals. She did not flinch when Marcus approached. Most beings at the summit would have regarded a human soldier with suspicion. She turned her gaze toward him, studying him with quiet curiosity. "Captain Hale," she said softly, her voice carrying a musical tone that was soothing rather than commanding. "I was told you are responsible for our safety today." Marcus inclined his head. "That's correct, Princess. I'll do my best to make sure no one human or alien gets hurt." Her lips curved into a small smile. "Most people would say that with pride. You seem different, calm, but observant." Marcus shrugged. "I've seen enough conflict to know panic doesn't help anyone, and diplomacy is just another battlefield, one where logic matters more than strength." Alara nodded thoughtfully. "You understand far more than most, Captain. I appreciate that." It was a brief conversation, but it left an impression on Marcus. In a summit filled with display, ceremony, and hidden agendas, here was someone who seemed genuine. Most alien delegates were dazzled by appearances, status, or protocol. But Alara's quiet wisdom hinted at a depth that others had overlooked. The following days were a blur of introductions, strategy meetings, and public appearances. Marcus maintained his role diligently, but he noticed how often Alara observed the world around her with keen attention. She noticed small acts of kindness or unfairness, asked questions that revealed a sharp mind, and rarely followed the scripts expected of her. Slowly, Marcus began seeking her out during the quiet moments of the summit, not as a duty but out of genuine interest. Word spread quickly among the delegates that Marcus favored Alara. At first, it was whispered in corridors, then mentioned openly in dining halls. Many were shocked. A human soldier was expected to be practical, loyal to his own people, and indifferent to alien politics. Choosing the least popular princess seemed reckless. Some chuckled, others shook their heads in disbelief. But Marcus paid no attention. He was not choosing her because of popularity, looks, or status. He was choosing her because he respected her character, her intelligence, and her authenticity. The summit's first test came in the form of a diplomatic exercise designed to measure problem-solving and strategy. Delegates were paired with representatives from other species to resolve a simulated crisis involving trade disputes, resource management, and territorial claims. Marcus was partnered with Alara, much to the amusement of some delegates who expected the human to be out of his depth. The exercise began in a holographic chamber, displaying a star system under threat from a rogue faction. Aliens from multiple species argued over priorities, strategies, and alliances, often letting pride or custom guide their decisions rather than logic. Marcus listened carefully, asking questions, proposing solutions, and mediating disputes. Alara followed his lead, offering insights that revealed a sophisticated understanding of strategy, logistics, and diplomacy. As hours passed, it became clear that the human-alien pair outperformed most others. Where others bickered, they collaborated. Where others relied on tradition, they innovated. By the end, the exercise ended in a unanimous decision that recognized Marcus and Alara as one of the most effective teams. Alien observers whispered in astonishment. Humans could think, adapt, and lead in ways no one had expected. But the summit was not without tension. Some alien delegates, embarrassed by their own failures, began plotting subtle ways to undermine Marcus. Rumors circulated that his choice of Alara could disrupt political alliances, weaken influential families, and challenge centuries of tradition. The whispers reached Marcus, but he remained focused. He did not let fear or gossip guide his actions. During a quieter evening, Marcus and Alara walked together along a skyway overlooking the floating city. The lights below twinkled like stars, and the air carried a gentle hum from the anti-gravity fields. "You're making waves, Captain," Alara said, her tone teasing but serious. "Many here cannot understand why a human would act independently of tradition." "Alara," Marcus smiled faintly. "Why should I follow rules that don't make sense? My duty is to protect people, not politics. And I respect those who act with integrity, even if they're not celebrated." Alara's gaze softened. "Then I am glad we met. Most would choose popularity over truth. You do not." In that moment, Marcus felt a rare connection. It was not born of ceremony or obligation, but of mutual respect and understanding. It was a small bond, almost invisible amidst the grandeur of the summit, but powerful in its simplicity. The next day, the press of the galaxy turned its attention to the summit's ceremonial introduction of the princesses. Delegates from thousands of worlds gathered to witness the grand display. Most eyes were on the famous princess, dazzling in her flowing robes and radiant charm. Cameras and holographic transmitters carried her image to countless viewers. And yet, Marcus's gaze sought Alara. She moved through the crowd with grace, but without pretense. She noticed him watching, and her eyes met his. No words were exchanged, but in that brief look, a silent understanding passed between them. Neither was concerned with popularity, status, or expectations. What mattered was honesty, courage, and shared vision. By the end of the day, whispers had grown into open speculation. Delegates debated. Alien media commented. And curious observers wondered whether the human soldier would make the unprecedented choice. Some laughed at the audacity, others admired the boldness. But one thing was clear. The galaxy was beginning to notice humanity, not just as a species capable of warfare or exploration, but as one capable of independent thought, moral courage, and deep empathy. Marcus walked back to his quarters, the city lights reflecting off his uniform. He was aware of the attention, the gossip, and the expectations. And yet, he felt no fear. His choice was simple. It was not about politics, not about prestige, not about pleasing others. It was about what he respected, what he valued, and the qualities he saw in a quiet, unassuming princess who had captured his attention not through spectacle, but through substance. As he prepared for the evening's council briefing, Marcus thought of Alara. The galaxy might be shocked, confused, even outraged by his future decisions, but he knew that the strength of humanity was not in following rules blindly. It was in seeing truth, acting with courage, and valuing character above all else. And for the first time, in a room filled with stars and alien voices, he felt confident that humans were ready not just to exist among the galaxy, but to inspire it. The day after the grand introduction of the princesses, tension in the summit grew thicker. Rumors about Captain Marcus Hale and Princess Alara spread like fire across the floating city of Lithara. Delegates whispered in corridors, alien reporters speculated in holographic broadcasts, and even minor officials kept casting furtive glances at the human soldier. Everyone wondered why he had not followed tradition, why he seemed drawn to the quiet, least popular princess. Marcus ignored the gossip. He had faced danger in many worlds, from rogue asteroids to hostile alien factions, and he had learned long ago that rumors did not matter. What mattered was action, judgment, and integrity. Yet, for all his calm, the political games at the summit were more complex than any battlefield he had ever known. It began with small tests. Delegates invited Marcus to observe discussions, debates, and exercises that measured negotiation skills, decision-making, and leadership. He noticed immediately that many of the alien representatives relied on charm, intimidation, or prestige rather than logic or fairness. Arguments were decided not by reason but by who had the highest rank, the loudest voice, or the most dazzling reputation. Marcus found it frustrating but also illuminating. Humans had a different strength: the ability to think independently, question assumptions, and act decisively when necessary. Alara remained by his side through many of these exercises. She did not overshadow him, nor did she try to command attention. Instead, she offered insight quietly, pointing out overlooked facts, suggesting alternatives that others had missed, and observing patterns with a clarity that impressed even Marcus. While other delegates dismissed her as timid or unimportant, Marcus saw her value clearly. "You notice things others miss," he said one evening as they walked along a glass skyway, high above the floating city. "It's remarkable." Alara's violet eyes reflected the city lights. "I notice because no one else pays attention. The galaxy is full of noise, Captain. People care more about how things appear than how they function. That is the real danger." Marcus nodded. "Then perhaps humans can show them a better way." Their partnership quickly became a quiet force within the summit. In strategy exercises, they paired up against some of the galaxy's most respected diplomats and military minds. One simulation involved a multi-star system under threat from a rogue faction, seeking to seize valuable resources. Aliens argued over which planets to defend, which fleets to deploy, and which alliances to call upon. Many acted impulsively, favoring tradition over logic. Marcus, with Alara's guidance, approached the problem differently. He proposed a plan that combined human adaptability with Alara's keen understanding of her own culture. Instead of deploying massive forces immediately, they suggested targeted strikes, defensive shields, and coordinated negotiations with neutral planets. Other delegates scoffed at first, assuming humans could not understand complex alien politics. By the end of the exercise, however, the human-alien pair had resolved the crisis with efficiency, minimal loss, and maximum stability. Word spread quickly. Aliens who had doubted humans began to observe Marcus differently. Where they had once seen only strength and courage, they now saw intelligence, creativity, and moral judgment. Where they had dismissed him as a soldier with little experience in diplomacy, they now recognized a species capable of thinking beyond conventions and rules. Not everyone was pleased. Some delegates plotted subtle ways to undermine Marcus, using manipulation and deception. One faction attempted to create false evidence that he favored Alara because of personal gain, suggesting he sought political leverage rather than genuine respect. Another tried to trap him in cultural missteps, designing tests that relied on alien customs he would not know. Marcus encountered these challenges with calm determination. He studied each test carefully, observed patterns, and applied human logic in ways that alien delegates did not expect. Ilara's insight proved invaluable. She explained nuances of Valen culture that others assumed irrelevant, helping Marcus avoid mistakes that could have damaged his reputation. Together, they navigated the hidden pitfalls of interstellar politics, often surprising alien observers with solutions that were both clever and ethical. Yet, the summit was not just about diplomacy exercises. A real threat loomed. One night, alarms rang throughout the city. A rogue faction had launched an attack on Lithera, aiming to disrupt the summit and seize control of its advanced technology. Marcus and his human team immediately mobilized. He coordinated security teams, identified vulnerable points in the city's defenses, and prepared to evacuate delegates if necessary. Ilara insisted on helping. "I know the city," she said. "I can guide you through secret corridors and help protect those in danger." Together, they moved swiftly. Humans and alien security forces clashed with the attackers in floating gardens, transparent skyways, and grand halls. Marcus fought with precision, directing teams strategically rather than relying on brute force alone. Ilara's guidance allowed them to anticipate the attackers' movements, avoiding ambushes and minimizing casualties. At one point, a group of delegates became trapped in a collapsing bridge. Marcus did not hesitate. Using quick thinking, he rigged a temporary suspension using energy harnesses and guided the group to safety. Ilara stayed close, calming frightened delegates and directing human teams to reinforce weak points. By the time the attack was repelled, the summit had suffered minimal damage, and no lives were lost. News of Marcus's actions spread across the galaxy faster than any report from the summit itself. Broadcasts hailed the human soldier as a hero, emphasizing not only his bravery but also his intelligence, adaptability, and leadership. Ilara's calm presence alongside him was noted as well, but it was clear that Marcus's actions had shattered expectations. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were a force that could think, act, and inspire in moments of crisis. Despite the praise, Marcus remained humble. He did not seek glory. In quiet moments, he reflected on why he had acted as he did. It was not about recognition or politics. It was about responsibility, integrity, and the belief that humans could lead, not through fear or tradition, but through courage and understanding. Ilara found him alone in one of the observation decks the following morning. The city floated beneath them, glowing in soft light, and the ocean reflected colors that seemed impossible to capture. "You've done what no one expected," she said softly. "You've shown them that humans are more than they thought." Marcus leaned against the railing. "I only did what felt right. That's what humans can do. We make choices based on what's right, not just what's expected. That's how we survive. That's how we grow." Ilara smiled, a quiet warmth in her expression. "And you've shown that to the galaxy." For the rest of the summit, Marcus and Ilara became an unspoken symbol. Other delegates began to pay attention, not because of protocol or tradition, but because they saw results. Humans were capable of innovation, morality, and courage. They could navigate both diplomacy and danger with equal skill. Yet, challenges remained. The Galactic Council still expected Marcus to choose the most celebrated princess, one whose selection would maintain alliances and prevent political upset. Choosing Ilara openly could provoke backlash. Some alien families quietly plotted to force the decision in their favor. Others attempted to sway public opinion, highlighting her lack of popularity. Marcus remained undeterred. Popularity did not matter to him. What mattered was trust, respect, and shared vision. Ilara had shown intelligence, courage, and clarity of thought that no other princess displayed. She had helped him navigate the summit's dangers and had faced threats with wisdom and composure. To Marcus, she represented the very qualities humans valued: honesty, insight, and the courage to act rightly even when it was unpopular. One afternoon, As the summit approached its final council deliberations, Marcus received a discreet message. It warned him of a plot to manipulate the voting process, ensuring he would appear to choose the popular princess no matter what. The message came anonymously, but its intent was clear. Some in the galaxy wanted to maintain tradition at the cost of truth. He considered it carefully. A choice driven by fear or manipulation would betray everything humans stood for. Integrity demanded he act according to his own judgment, no matter the consequences. Later that evening, Marcus met Ilara in one of the quiet gardens. Soft lights illuminated the paths, and alien flowers glowed with gentle bioluminescence. She looked at him, her eyes calm and steady. "They expect you to follow tradition," she said. "They expect you to choose the obvious option. Do not let them dictate your heart or mind." Marcus nodded. "I will not. This isn't about politics. It's about what is right. I respect you, Ilara, not because anyone tells me to, but because of who you are." Ilara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then we face the council together. Without fear. The galaxy may not understand, but that is not our concern. We know the truth of our choice." In that moment, Marcus felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had proven themselves not just in warfare, exploration, or cunning. They had proven that courage and integrity could influence even the most rigid alien institutions. The summit had tested them, challenged them, and observed them closely. Marcus and Ilara had passed, not because of status or power, but because they acted rightly and wisely. As the floating city of Lithara glimmered under twin moons, Marcus understood that the coming days would test them even further. Political intrigue, cultural expectations, and the weight of galactic scrutiny would challenge their resolve. Yet, he felt ready. Humanity had survived countless dangers, adapted to impossible environments, and now had the chance to shine as more than a species. They could shine as a symbol of courage, intelligence, and moral strength. And in the quiet moments, when the city seemed to breathe around them, Marcus and Ilara walked side by side, knowing that no matter what the galaxy thought, they had each other's trust, respect, and understanding. That bond, simple yet powerful, would become the foundation for the extraordinary events yet to come. The council chamber on Lithara was vast beyond human imagination. Light reflected off translucent walls and curved ceilings, and delegates from countless civilizations sat in semicircular rows that seemed to stretch endlessly. Holographic projections floated above the central dais, displaying star systems, trade routes, and diplomatic treaties. Captain Marcus Hale entered the chamber with measured steps, flanked by human security personnel, yet all attention quickly turned toward him. The galaxy waited, curious and tense. At the center of the chamber, Princess Ilara stood quietly. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the bustling energy of other delegates. Many had expected the showy, famous princess to dominate the proceedings, her every gesture scrutinized and celebrated. But Ilara moved with quiet confidence, observing, listening, and understanding more than anyone else. Marcus noticed how naturally she commanded attention not by force or spectacle, but by presence and clarity. The council's presiding officer, a towering alien named Korlun of the Dravari, began the session. His voice resonated like low thunder, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "Captain Marcus Hale," he said, "you have participated in our exercises, faced challenges, and demonstrated capabilities that few humans or aliens could match. Yet now, you are asked to make a decision that could affect the balance of interstellar alliances." Marcus nodded. "I understand, sir. I am aware of the consequences. I will act according to what I believe is right, not what is expected." A murmur ran through the chamber. Delegates exchanged incredulous glances. It was unheard of for a human, let alone a soldier, to defy centuries of protocol. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others leaned forward, eager to witness the outcome. Korlun's eyes, sharp and calculating, focused on Marcus. "Then state your choice." Marcus took a deep breath. He thought of the summit's days, the strategy exercises, the political scheming, the rogue attacks. and the quiet moments in the glowing gardens. He thought of Alara's intelligence, honesty, and courage, qualities he had admired from the first day they met, and he thought of humanity itself, a species that had survived countless trials by relying on integrity, ingenuity, and moral judgment. "I choose Princess Alara of the Valen," Marcus said clearly. "Not because she is popular, not because of tradition, but because she has shown qualities I respect and trust. Our partnership is built on understanding, integrity, and shared vision. That is what matters most." Silence filled the chamber. The decision echoed in every corner. Alien delegates stared, some with shock, others with disbelief. The popular princess's supporters gasped, murmuring angrily. Some tried to intervene, citing tradition, protocol, and the weight of centuries. But Marcus's voice, steady and resolute, cut through their protests. "I am aware of the political implications," he continued. "I am aware of your expectations, but I act not for power or prestige. I act because integrity and judgment matter more than appearances. I trust Alara, and I trust her judgment. That is the foundation for any alliance worth having." Korlun's massive form shifted slightly. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes held respect. Few humans speak with such clarity. Fewer still act without regard for personal gain. "Your choice is unprecedented, Captain Hale. It will be remembered." Alien delegates erupted into debate. Some claimed Marcus was reckless, threatening the stability of the council. Others praised him, arguing that his courage and moral clarity were exactly what the galaxy needed. Holographic screens showed reactions across distant worlds, from small moons to massive capital planets. Some media outlets hailed the decision as revolutionary. Others predicted chaos. Amid the chaos, Marcus and Alara remained calm. They had anticipated resistance, even hostility. But they knew that acting rightly sometimes required defying expectation. For Alara, the moment was deeply personal. She had long understood that she was overlooked because of quiet intelligence, not charisma. Now, a human soldier had recognized her worth, not for appearances, but for her mind and character. As the council debates continued, a subtle shift began. Alien observers who had once scoffed at humans now studied Marcus with renewed interest. His choice challenged the established norms, but it also demonstrated something many had overlooked. Humans valued truth and character above superficial measures. This principle, unfamiliar and often dismissed, now demanded consideration. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the chamber. A group of delegates attempted to challenge the legitimacy of the vote. Claiming technical irregularities in the holographic voting system, their argument was precise, filled with procedural terms and rules that no human could have memorized. Marcus, however, remained calm. He requested a pause, examined the data, and applied logical reasoning combined with Alara's insight. Together, they identified the flaw in the challenge. It was an attempt to manipulate the outcome, not a legitimate concern. "Your challenge is invalid," Marcus said firmly. "The vote reflects choice based on merit and judgment, not manipulation or intimidation. Any attempt to override it undermines the principles of this council." Korlun nodded slowly. "It appears the human not only chooses wisely, but defends the choice with clarity and fairness. Your actions today, Captain Hale, exemplify the qualities the galaxy needs." The council reluctantly accepted the outcome. Whispers of dissent continued, but the weight of Marcus's integrity could not be ignored. The decision, once shocking, began to shift perceptions. Delegates who had dismissed humans now recognized a species capable of independent thought, courage, and ethical judgment. In the following days, Marcus and Alara worked together to solidify their position. They attended council sessions, mediated disputes, and guided discussions with a combination of human practicality and Valen wisdom. Where other delegates relied on intimidation or tradition, they relied on reason, evidence, and fairness. Slowly, alien representatives who had been skeptical or dismissive began to adopt their methods, seeing the advantages of collaboration over rivalry. Yet, the journey was not without further trials. A faction within the council, unwilling to accept the new dynamic, attempted to provoke Marcus by questioning human loyalty. They presented fabricated intelligence, suggesting humans had ulterior motives, planning to manipulate alliances across the galaxy. Marcus, again, responded with calm logic. He provided transparent evidence of human intentions, offered explanations of human ethics, and emphasized the importance of trust in any alliance. His actions once more earned quiet respect, even from those who had hoped to discredit him. Ilara observed silently through it all, her presence a steady reassurance. She understood the nuances of the council's politics, and her quiet guidance allowed Marcus to navigate situations that might have overwhelmed even experienced diplomats. Together, they formed a partnership that combined the best of both worlds: human adaptability and moral clarity, Valen intellect and cultural insight. One evening, after a particularly tense council session, Marcus and Ilara walked along one of Lithara's elevated skyways. The city stretched beneath them like a living tapestry of light and motion. Floating platforms glimmered with energy fields, and streams of glowing water reflected the colors of distant moons. "You've changed things," Ilara said softly, her voice barely audible over the hum of the city. "The council, the delegates, even the media, they see humans differently now." Marcus shrugged, though a small smile touched his lips. "I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was right. Humans survive and thrive because we act with judgment and courage. That's what matters. Not approval or status." Ilara nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "And yet, you've shown the galaxy that these qualities are powerful. They respect strength, intellect, and courage. But more than that, they respect honesty." Marcus glanced at her. "You've been a part of that too. Without your insight and trust, none of this would have been possible. Humans alone might have acted, but together, we've made an impact." They walked in silence for a while, letting the lights of the city wash over them. Despite the political storms, the intrigue, and the lingering whispers of dissent, they felt an undeniable sense of accomplishment. The galaxy had expected compliance, tradition, and spectacle. Instead, they had witnessed something different: integrity, partnership, and courage. As the summit drew closer to its conclusion, it became clear that Marcus and Ilara's influence would endure. Alien societies began questioning old prejudices, debating the importance of character over appearances, and reconsidering assumptions about humans. Where once they were outsiders, now they were seen as innovators, moral guides, and partners. In private moments, Marcus allowed himself a rare sense of satisfaction. Humanity had achieved something remarkable, not through dominance, not through manipulation, but through courage, intelligence, and integrity. They had proven that strength lay not just in weapons or technology, but in judgment, character, and the willingness to act rightly even when it defied expectation. Ilara walked beside him one last time before the council's final closing ceremony. Her expression was serene, but her eyes reflected pride and quiet triumph. "The galaxy may still resist," she said, "but we've begun something important. They will remember this, Marcus." He nodded. "And humans will continue to act with integrity, no matter what. That is who we are." For the first time in the summit, Marcus felt a deep sense of purpose. He had entered the council as a soldier, an outsider, and an observer. He would leave as a representative of humanity's best qualities: courage, intelligence, empathy, and moral strength. The galaxy had been shocked, but now it was listening. And in that moment, walking beside Princess Ilara, under the glowing moons of Lithara, Marcus understood something essential. Humanity's greatest power was not in technology or numbers, but in the ability to act rightly, to inspire, and to challenge expectations not for glory, but for truth. The galaxy was changing, and humans were no longer merely participants. They were influencers, a species whose choices could redefine alliances, perceptions, and the future of countless worlds. And standing beside Marcus, Alara shared that vision, ready to face the future together, as equals and partners. The final day of the summit arrived with a sense of anticipation that rippled across the floating city of Lithara. Delegates from thousands of worlds gathered in the Great Hall, eager to witness the conclusion of the deliberations and the choice of alliances. Cameras and holobroadcasts transmitted the event to distant planets, and citizens across the galaxy waited to see how humanity and Princess Alara would navigate the culmination of days filled with political intrigue, tests, and quiet challenges. Captain Marcus Hale walked through the corridors, flanked by his human security team. But his mind was focused not on procedure or ceremony. He thought of the journey that had brought him here. The initial meetings with Alara, the strategy exercises, the rogue faction's attack, and the countless subtle challenges from alien delegates. Every step had tested him. Every choice had reflected his values. And now, the final moment had arrived. Princess Alara waited at the central dais, her posture calm and composed. While others adorned themselves with extravagant attire to impress the council, she remained understated. Her robes, simple but elegant, reflecting her personality. To the galaxy, she might have seemed unremarkable. But to Marcus, and now to the slowly awakening council, she embodied intelligence, courage, and integrity qualities far more enduring than spectacle. The presiding officer, Corlin of the Dravari, raised his voice. Today marks a historic moment in the Galactic Alliance. Captain Marcus Hale has acted with courage and judgment beyond his species' reputation. He now faces the final decision, which may set a precedent for centuries to come. Captain, state your choice. Marcus stepped forward, the hall quieting instantly. Every eye, human and alien, focused on him. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably, unable to reconcile centuries of tradition with the human's independent decision-making. Others leaned forward, curious to see whether his reputation for integrity and courage would hold under the weight of expectation. He looked at Alara. She nodded ever so slightly, a gesture of trust and partnership. It was not about ceremony, protocol, or political advantage. It was about truth and judgment. Marcus took a deep breath, letting the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, yet feeling steady in purpose. I choose Princess Alara of the Valen, he said clearly, his voice carrying across the chamber. This choice is not about popularity or tradition. It is not about pleasing others or following precedent. I choose her because she has demonstrated intelligence, integrity, courage, and wisdom. These are qualities that matter above all else. Together, we can build partnerships that are honest, fair, and enduring. That is the foundation of any alliance worth having. The hall erupted in a mixture of shock, disbelief, and murmurs of admiration. The popular princess's supporters gasped, unable to fathom that a human soldier would defy tradition in such a direct way. Some argued vehemently, claiming Marcus's decision threatened political stability and centuries of protocol. Yet others nodded quietly, recognizing the logic, fairness, and courage behind his choice. Corlin's deep voice resonated once more. Captain Hale, your decision is unprecedented. The Council has never witnessed such clarity, independence, and adherence to principle. This is a historic moment, and your actions will be remembered. As the murmurs continued, the presiding officer allowed discussion to proceed. Delegates debated, questioned, and even tried to challenge the vote. Some suggested that human choices could destabilize the delicate balance of interstellar politics. Others recognized the value of a species capable of independent moral judgment. Marcus listened calmly, responding with clear reasoning, demonstrating transparency, and refusing to yield to intimidation. Throughout the deliberation, Alara remained at his side, offering quiet guidance. Her knowledge of Valen culture, combined with her intelligence and composure, helped Marcus address concerns with precision. Where others relied on intimidation, they relied on logic and fairness. Where others sought to control, they sought understanding. And gradually, the tide of opinion began to shift. Alien delegates who had once dismissed humans as outsiders began to observe them differently. They realized that Marcus's choice was not impulsive or reckless, it was deliberate, thoughtful, and principled. Humanity, they now understood, had a perspective that could challenge tradition and inspire progress. It was not the loudest or the most dazzling that led to success. It was the wise, the honest, and the courageous. Finally, Corlun spoke again. The Council has considered all arguments. Captain Marcus Hale's choice reflects not only judgment, but the qualities that the Alliance should honor: intelligence, integrity, and moral courage. Princess Elara of the Vaylin shall be recognized as the partner chosen by Captain Hale. This decision sets a precedent that all species may learn from, showing that merit, character, and principle are of utmost importance. A wave of astonishment swept through the chamber. The choice was official, and yet its implications were only beginning to sink in. The galaxy, long bound by tradition and hierarchy, had been confronted with a human perspective that valued truth over spectacle, integrity over popularity. Slowly, murmurs of approval began to grow among the delegates, even from those who had initially opposed the decision. In the days following the Council's announcement, Marcus and Elara worked together to solidify alliances and foster understanding between species. Their partnership became symbolic, not only of personal choice but of a broader principle: that fairness, honesty, and competence should guide diplomacy across the galaxy. They mediated disputes between alien factions, offering solutions based on logic, ethics, and mutual respect. They demonstrated that collaboration could achieve far more than intimidation or manipulation, and as their reputation grew, so too did humanity's standing. Humans were no longer merely outsiders. They were valued partners, capable of influencing decisions on a galactic scale, through intellect, courage, and integrity. The ripple effects of Marcus's choice extended far beyond the summit. Media broadcasts from distant worlds highlighted the unprecedented nature of the decision, sparking debates on the role of tradition, merit, and fairness in diplomacy. Citizens across the galaxy admired the human soldier who had acted independently, respecting character over status. Philosophers and leaders began to discuss the principles Marcus embodied, recognizing that morality, courage, and intelligence were universal values that could guide interstellar relations. One evening, Marcus and Elara found themselves walking through the city's illuminated gardens. The bioluminescent flora cast soft glows across the paths, and streams of water floated gently through the air, refracting light in dazzling patterns. The city, which had once felt overwhelming, now seemed peaceful, a reflection of the balance they had helped establish. "You've changed things," Elara said softly. "Not just the Council, not just the summit, but the galaxy. Humans are no longer underestimated. They are respected, even admired." Marcus smiled faintly. "I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was right. That's the only way humans survive and thrive. And now, the galaxy knows it." Elara glanced at him, her eyes reflecting quiet admiration. "Your choice has inspired hope. Many have learned that courage and integrity matter more than appearances. That is a legacy far greater than any ceremony or title." Marcus looked out across the city, his gaze resting on the distant spires and floating platforms. "Humans have always adapted, survived, and learned. But we've also always valued what is right. That strength is not in numbers, technology, or weapons. It is in judgment, courage, and integrity. That is what makes us human." The summit concluded with a ceremonial celebration, but the focus was no longer on pomp or spectacle. Delegates from across the galaxy honored Marcus and Elara not for titles or wealth, but for their example, a demonstration that principles and moral courage could transcend tradition, hierarchy, and expectation. Stories of their partnership would be told for decades, inspiring leaders, soldiers, and citizens alike. As the festivities continued, Marcus and Elara stood quietly together on one of the observation decks. The city stretched beneath them like a tapestry of light, energy, and possibility. For the first time, Marcus allowed himself to reflect on the extraordinary journey. From an outsider soldier to a symbol of humanity's best qualities. Alara reached out, lightly touching his arm. "The galaxy may still challenge us," she said. "There will always be those who resist change, who cling to old ways. But what we have done here, what you have done, cannot be undone. You have shown what humans are capable of," Marcus nodded, "and humans will continue to act with integrity, no matter the challenge. That is who we are, and that is what we will always be." In the quiet glow of Lithara's sky, the two of them stood side by side, a human and an alien, partners in principle and vision. Their bond, built on respect, trust, and courage, was not just personal, it was a statement to the galaxy that the qualities that mattered most were universal. Over time, the impact of their actions grew. Human-led initiatives flourished across the Alliance, from diplomacy to exploration to crisis management. Other species began to adopt the principles Marcus had embodied: thoughtful judgment, collaboration, and moral courage. Where once humanity had been underestimated, they were now seen as a species capable of inspiring entire civilizations to act rightly. And though the galaxy had initially been shocked by a soldier's unprecedented choice, it eventually came to understand that Marcus had done more than select a partner. He had illuminated the true potential of humanity. To act with courage, think with clarity, and inspire with integrity. As the twin moons of Lithara cast silver light across the floating city, Marcus and Alara looked out together, knowing that the galaxy would never forget this moment. A human soldier had chosen not the most popular princess, but the one whose character, courage, and intelligence mattered most. And in doing so, he had reshaped the way the galaxy would see humanity forever. Humans were no longer just participants in the cosmic order, they were leaders by example, reminding all civilizations that courage, wisdom, and integrity could change the course of history. And standing beside him, Alara shared that vision, ready to face the future as an equal, a partner, and a symbol of what the galaxy could achieve when it valued what truly mattered.